All right, I think we're live. We're going to go for it anyway, one way or another. Shawn Day here, Higher Lead and Chill. How y'all doing today? Tuesday, it's got to be Tuesday at after 4 because it's very rare that we're exactly on time. And if I have a guest like Dan Platt, I'm usually about a half hour later, so he's getting things wrapped up. Dan is going to be on with me. I think next week we're going to be talking about some things. Every Tuesday, 4 p.m., we've got a live. We're on podcast and a whole bunch of other places. I'm learning more and more as people tell me where we're at. The social media thing is just keeps adding and growing and growing and adding. And I've got these new links, and the kids are all upset that I'm on TikTok now. My teenagers, it's a nightmare. But enough about that. I usually, as a lot of listeners know, I like to have a roundup of the last week or month or so, what's going on in the labor market. I'm a recruiting guy, Hire, Lead, and Chill, and all that, and talking about interest rates maybe, and so on and so forth. But I've got somebody on. That's all boring. Let's get to some good stuff. I've got Dean Mercado is on today with us. And Dean, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Shawn. Thank you very much for having me here today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's do this. I'm gonna let you tell the audience here a little bit more, or a lot. I don't care because you got a lot going on. I'm a little bit long in the tooth myself. I think we're probably close to the same age in that mid 50-ish area, somewhere in there, right?
Yeah,
All
exactly.
right, so let's hear it. Let's hear it. And while you're doing that, I'm going to make sure we're getting shared around a bunch of different groups and stuff too.
You bet. I'd be happy to. For those of you who don't know me, I am Dean Mercado. My main company is Online Marketing Muscle. My secondary company that I work with also is the Dean Mercado Company. And essentially, Online Marketing Muscle is a digital marketing agency. That's the broad term of it. We were a digital marketing agency before digital marketing became a word, right? So we've been around 20 years. We are the dinosaur in this area. As a matter of fact, I got laughed at 20 years ago when I told people I was starting a company based on the internet. And people would look at me and say, "What are you, crazy? We thought you were so smart. Why would you create an internet company? It's just a fad. The internet won't be here for that long." Really? 20 years later, thankfully I can look back and laugh at that. That I guess I was right and I had the foresight back then. So that's a good thing. Now, out of these years, I did come out of big corporate America. So I had that experience about a dozen years in big corporate America. And like Shawn, like you alluded to, yeah, we've been around a little bit. I'm in my mid 50s now. So I played in corporate America for about 12 years. I did great in corporate America, but my feet were sleeping. Oh my goodness, they were killing me. So the end of the day, I was like, I'm making these folks millions of dollars. And I'm like, if I could just make a small little bit for myself, just a little bit. I don't need a lot, just, enough so that I can kind of do my own thing. And because in corporate America, I was flying around the world. I was managing multi-million dollar projects. And that was great. But you couldn't start a family in that scenario. I couldn't start a family. I couldn't think about getting serious with anybody. And as I was coming to my late 20s into my early 30s, I'm like, this has got to change. It's got to change.
Yeah.
So out of that came Online Marketing Muscle. After a couple of start-stop mistakes in the entrepreneur world. So Online Marketing Muscle popped out. Now, here's the fun part. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I got my rear end kicked everywhere. I thought, hey, I got all the masters. I got the master's degree. I got all the college behind me. I got this. I got that. I ran these multi-million-dollar divisions, ran them. But I didn't know what it was like to be a true entrepreneur. Yeah, I mowed all the lawns and washed all the cars as a kid and anything to make the buck, to go to the movies and stuff like that.
Had it in your blood. You had it in your blood.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not quite the same thing. You don't know what you're going to bump into when you get out into the real world. So Online Marketing Muscle came about. I made every mistake possible. I would imagine at that point. And it was struggle. It was suffer. It was a lot of pain. And through that experience, I got clarity on if I could just help a few other really good people not go through the same trouble, the same pain, the same exhausting and humiliating experience, I'd love to. And that's where the coaching started to work its way into what was happening at the time. We were doing SEO back then. We were doing website development back then. We were doing a lot. We were pre-social media, if you could imagine that.
Right.
So we were early adopters into Facebook and all the other social medias that were popping up at the time, going back to like MySpace and things like that. So there was a lot of stuff going on back then. So yes, and then the coaching started getting more and more and more. And then what happened after several years, the coaching started to become what everybody was looking for. It was like, okay, Dean, you built us a fish. This is great. Can you just teach us how to fish as well? So the coaching became more and more in demand. And that's where a few years back, I actually decided, I need to separate the two, because the coaching was kind of overwhelming Online Marketing Muscle. And I didn't want the two of them to kind of to overshadow one another. I wanted them to just evolve as they were meant to be. Yep. So I split them out. Dean Mercado Company handles all the coaching now. Online Marketing Muscle handles all the digital marketing stuff now. So one teaches you how to fish, one gives you the fish. So
let me
kind of a nice thing.
Real quick. Let me interject and unpack a few things here before you go on, Dean. So you're entering a world that's not too far, perhaps, where we maybe not even so much today, but where we were maybe just 2 years ago with AI. Well, what's this AI stuff? Oh, here we go, the robot talking in and all that. And just 2 years ago, where we're at today, nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, but certainly the majority of us didn't see how easy and how cheap to free we were going to have access to this whole new world. And so everybody's kind of playing catch up. How do I think? And you were sort of in that place, 20 years ago with the dial up, right? We had the dial up stuff going on. Many of people probably don't even know what that is, all these sort of things, right? Dial up in a sentence is, it took 2 minutes when you clicked a link for something to show up on your screen, right? That was dial.
And that's if you had a good connection.
right. Yeah. It's amazing. So a couple things too. You said the word clarity there.
Yes.
And you've got this. I've got a similar story as far as the beginnings, right? Where I was with corporate America, I was doing well with the car and the this and the that. And I didn't last 12 years. I lasted like a year and a half. And we had the general manager came in and started yelling at salespeople. I was in a meeting outside of the office because that's what I got paid to do. I was out at 7:00 meeting with a prospective client. I come back at 9:00 and he's yelling at people in the conference room. And where is everybody? I go in there. And I'm thinking, I know I'm doing pretty well. I think my numbers are good. And I was the number one sales guy there at the time. And he comes to me and he says, Shawn, and he's looking through a yellow pad and he's looking around. He goes, gee, you don't care about clients. When's the last time you took a client out to lunch? And I'm going, what? And I looked at him and I said, Michael, you pay me to go sell. I'm either on the phone or I'm presenting answers to people's problems. Okay. You can meet with me at 6 p.m. tonight and I'll meet you anywhere. I'm not doing this right now. And I walked out that night. I told my wife, I'm done. I quit a week later. And I think maybe like you, I didn't know I didn't have the answer quite yet, but I knew that wasn't it. Did you did you know and have it planned out, or how did you get from corporate and make that transition?
Well, I always had the bug in me. There was no doubt about that since I was a youth. There was no doubt that there was something there. I just didn't know. See, I was under the traditional programming of college, job, family, college, job, family. So I knew my parents really wanted me to go to college, and none of my other brothers did really pursue that. They all became a regular tradesman, making great living. Most of them ended up being electricians. And here comes Dean, not looking to be an electrician and bucking that system. And they're like, well, what are you going to do? So the college seemed like a natural route for me. It's that programming that was telling you, hey, this is what you're supposed to do, and this is what you have to do. And then after my undergraduate, they were like, well, now you got to get your master's degree. And then, you got to go get your doctorate. And I came close to thinking about getting my doctorate. Then I said, wait a minute. What the heck am I going to do with that? What am I going to do with a doctorate?
Right.
You know, that's, to me, it was, I recognized that was just an ego thing. So it was like, you know what? No doctorate for me. Let's go out there and let's take this thing for a ride and see what my skills can bring. So I lasted as long as I did in corporate America because of the programming, number one. But secondly, and most importantly, I was making tremendous money for a single young man. Stupid money. You know, when you're talking hitting six figures, when you're in your 20s, this is going back to the late 80s into the early 90s.
A lot of money.
It's a lot of money for a kid back then.
Yeah.
And I'm staying in very nice hotels around the world. So my expenses were down, you know. It was ridiculous. So you can get very comfortable with that very quickly and very spoiled with that. But I knew I wasn't happy. So when I took the plunge, what it took was one of my employees came to me one time and he goes to me, he's like, Dean, you know, because I started planting the feelers with my team. Like, look, this isn't going to last forever. I'm going to be making a move. I just don't know when.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, you're one of the two smartest people I know. He's like, my cousin's the other guy. You two need to meet and figure out what you're going to do. So I said, all right, you know, I'll meet the guy.
That's great.
And also I got together, I met the guy and I'm like, yeah, this guy's a sharp dude. Let's talk. And we started talking and immediately a plan went in place and it was okay. Well, I'm leaving my job. Right. So I just left cold turkey. So I went from making beautiful six figures to zero, you know, and I was like, oh, we'll see how it goes. How bad and how hard could this be? You know, until I realized that, you know, partnerships can be very, very complicated and things didn't play out the way I had hoped they would play out and the way we planned for them to play out. So I stuck my neck out. I got burned. You know, my fiance at the time looked at me and said, all right, time to move on. Next, you know, so it was like, okay, well, let's start our own thing. So this way there's no one to blame but us.
Yep.
You know, I didn't want to play the blame game. It wasn't necessary. It wasn't called for. So we did. And that's when we made all the mistakes. All the other mistakes.
Yeah. You know, and another, you know, I think you've said this more than once, the ego. I talk about the ego an awful lot, you know, and I, you know, a lot of people, at least for me, when I talk about ego, I don't necessarily mean, you know, hey, this guy here or that guy.
Exactly.
When you look up the synonyms for the word ego, you're going to find words like self-esteem, self-importance, self-respect, and self, and literally 5-6 synonyms are self. And when you are so tied up in yourself, and of course we want to improve ourselves, and you know it starts inside, sure. Right. But I find that you know there's a balance between needing, and we're all, you know, people that want to. If you're starting a business and you're an entrepreneur, you've got a pretty big ego to start with. You're usually going out and just, you know, running through trees and just going after it, and everybody else out of the way. But if you put that ego on the shelf and you kind of can see and listen and hear what others have to say, I think that's a big deal. And that's something that I hear a lot. And I'd love to hear your opinion on this or what you've seen with coaching. Now, I think that you probably were, and I've watched a few of your things, and you've got a great book out and everything else. We'll talk about that in a minute. And it was a bestseller. And so along with that, you know, it's time to get a coach, maybe time to listen to somebody. Now, did you have a hard time getting yourself to a point where you're like, I don't need a coach. I'll figure this out on my own. How much money and time did you think you wasted before you made that decision?
The short answer is years and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
I made a lot of mistakes, made a lot of risky gambles, and I'm not a gambling man. Yeah. But the way I was brought up through the system, I felt like I was like I couldn't be conquered. I couldn't be beat. Like there was nothing that could stop me. You know, I'm smart. I'm this, I'm that. This is what I was being told, and that's fine, or being sold, and that's fine to a degree. You know, and I was making mistake after mistake after mistake, and it really beat me down a lot at that time. And then it finally got to that point where I need some coaching. I need to talk to somebody because this isn't working out the way it's supposed to. It's not working out the way it was supposed to, the way they told me in the master's degree books. I got a master's degree. If I'm having trouble with this, what is everybody else doing?
Right.
Because I knew I'm not a dumb guy, and a lot of people I associate with, they're not dumb people. This thing called business, it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
And that's the easiest way to explain it. So yes, I got some coaching. And I remember my coach saying to me, I was running 3 businesses at the time, and they were all, they were there. They were just there, right?
Right.
And she goes to me, she's like, all right, I'll let you keep one of them.
Wow.
The other two, we're going to put on the shelf, and you can't have them back for a year.
Wow.
At the end of the year, if we meet our goals and we are where we said we wanted to be, then you could choose which one of the 2 you want back.
Which one of the 2, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I said, no, you can't. No way. I love this business. I love these people I do it with. You can't. No. And then finally the realization comes in like, well, you're asking for my help. I'm telling you what's going to work. Yeah. And you're spreading yourself all over the place and you're not getting much done. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little over here, making enough to just get by, but stay in a significant amount of pain through the process. So I let 2 companies go. The one I kept was Online Marketing Muscle. That's the one I kept.
Wow.
And so at the end of the year, I remember her saying to me, all right, which one you want back? Right? And I was like, are you kidding me? Why would I want those? What would make you think that I would? Well, that's what you said. No, I didn't. I didn't do that. Those are garbage businesses, but yeah. So the other 2 never came back.
So it basically is just like so many of us out there that own businesses, and we're especially starting out, not going after people that maybe have been there, done that, and can help. It was just getting beat up. That's what, you kind of get to a bottom, or you're getting close to the elevator's coming close to that bottom, and Correct. You're reaching out. You got to reach out.
Correct.
So the one thing too that I find is, and you've said this, you don't know what you don't know. That's such a big part of it, because there's 2 things with that. Even if you do know and you think that's not always true either. I mean, there's,
right.
So those 2 things can burn you either way. And I think for me, and talking to a lot of business owners out there that I'm blessed to do on a daily basis, it's more, not so much about those 2 things are like key to it, but the root of it is if you have the willingness to learn and willingness to literally do things you might not believe in, that you might not think are true, but somebody is telling you and getting you out of your own way.
Right.
It's not been working so far. You're beating that dead horse to death. How about being willing, just willing, to let somebody else take you by the reins and show you some things that, like you said, you don't know what you don't know, or what you thought you knew apparently isn't working, because that's why we're here.
Exactly. So it's about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And understanding that maybe your programming has gotten you to where you are. If you're saying you want something different, you have to check your programming out and saying, hey, do I have the programming to get me where I want to go? And if you don't, and again, and I have the college degrees, and I could tell you it took me the last 30 years to unprogram myself from a lot of the learning that I got through college. And I hate saying it like that, because college was not cheap.
Right.
So and it was a lot of time spent on that. So, but again, the textbooks don't always tell you what the reality is. It's a very difficult thing to do, to convey what you're really going to bump into in a textbook. Yeah. Very difficult, because every business, while they're all similar, they all have their nuances and they're, different scenarios, and depends on what all the variables are. And there's no way you're going to cover that in a college course.
Right.
And dare I say it, but a lot of the professors back then weren't running their own businesses.
Right.
Now, is it that way today? I don't know. I don't go to college anymore, but I can tell you that I probably would be pursuing something other than college if I was a true entrepreneur and looking to get somewhere.
Yeah.
I'd go right after the coaching. See, coaching didn't really exist when I was going through a lot of the pain. So you had to hire the few that were out there, and most of those were people who were making mega millions and were charging you a fortune.
Tony Robbins.
You want to be mentored by somebody, you had to really pay. It was very, very expensive. Now everybody and their grandchildren call themselves coaches. So Be careful. Everybody, yes, does need a coach. I don't care who you are. You're a business person, get a coach.
Yep.
Get a coach. It cuts the learning curve significantly, even just to hold you accountable, even just to be that sanity check for everything that you got going on. And never trust a coach who doesn't have a coach.
Right, right.
Trust me when I tell you that. Never trust a coach who doesn't have a coach.
Great point. Great point.
Yeah. So
that's a big thing that I'm hearing right now, or reading and hearing on social media is, like you said, everybody and their brother-in-law is a coach now online.
Right.
And there's so many people saying, I spent 10 grand on this, and the guy barely even gets back to me now. He's rescheduling appointments with, and just doesn't really know what they're doing. And I hear a lot about that. So I always tell people that listen to me, I do everything I can to make sure that the people that I bring on, like Dean and others out there, that I vet them, and I can tell you that I know people that have used them. I know and have seen them present and speak at other places and associations and things like that. If I see somebody online and they happen to say they're a coach, they don't quite make my show because I don't want to do that. I don't want to have people come here and try to get good ideas, good tips, and motivation to maybe make a change for themselves and a change in their life, and have people on here that can't help them. And I can tell you that I've talked to people, and I know people that say nothing but high things and respectful things about Dean. And all you have to do is look a little bit and talk to a few people, and you'll know exactly, to the level that that Dean would be able to help. Let me ask one thing that I'm curious about, Dean, because a lot of times it seems like we have to identify, because the coach has been there, done that. So you can identify with people that are stuck because you were stuck. You reached out and got a coach.
Oh, yeah.
So my question is this: Does coach? And I don't know if this is the right answer or if there is a right answer. And if there is, we'll find out. If there isn't, who the hell cares? Does coaching work best when you can really identify with the coach of your choice and his or her experience, or is it better to find a coach that maybe you can't identify with as much or nearly as much because it gets you out of your comfort zone and maybe makes you think outside of the box? Am I totally off on that? And I don't know what the answer is. My gut tells me you want to be able to identify with somebody because that tells you he's been there, done that.
Yeah, well, that's a tough question to answer. What I can tell you is that, yes, you want to choose a coach who's been there, done that.
Yeah.
Somebody who's been there. Again, I went through all the schooling and got all the learning from the textbooks. It's not the same thing. It's just not. Yeah. Online marketing muscle's been around 20 years. We go into our 20th year in 2024. That's unbelievable. I can't believe that we're here after that time. So, yes, you want somebody who's done there, been that. Everybody's going to be slightly different. You're going to want to pick your coach. You are a unique person. And I'm speaking to all of you watching this and listening to this now. You're all unique. You have to work with whoever gets you to move your rear end to do what needs to be done. For some of us, it's going to be somebody that is a little bit more like us. To others, it's going to be somebody who's completely opposite to us. Whatever it takes, don't be afraid. You don't have to marry that coach for 40 years.
Right.
You may have different coaches to get you through different parts of your entrepreneurship journey or your life journey, depending on what you're getting coaching around. And I'll tell you, there's a very, very fine line between your business coach and the life coach. When I'm coaching people, I can't tell you how often that a business or a business owner is not getting where they want to get to in their business, usually it's not because of things in the business. It starts with what's going on in here. So there's a big part of us that becomes part psychiatrist, psychologist, where we have to dig in, and my clients will be the first ones to tell you, wow, I had no idea that I needed so much personal coaching. But when we break through what's blocking you here, it makes it so much easier to execute out there where you want to go.
Yeah.
Now, I'm speaking from well over 10,000 hours of one-on-one coaching experience. I'd say it's probably closer to 20,000 hours. Do that math in your head. How many hours I've coached entrepreneurs. I tell you not to brag or boast, but to give you perspective that what I'm telling you is based on that amount of time of working with people, many smarter than me. Just because I'm coaching them doesn't mean I'm smarter than them. I just have a gift. I have a gift. My gift is being able to see through the crap, the clutter, and get to the point and pull out of you the answer. And many times the answers are already in you. My job is to get it out of you and get it executed. Help you get it in motion so that you can get where you say you want to go. Right. So yes, there's a lot to this thing called coaching. I didn't start out being a coach. It's not what I started doing. I remember going back. I was on a podcast a couple of months back with a guy that I started co-coaching with, another guy who owned a business like mine at the time. And it was like, we were starting to hear about this thing called coaching, and we're like, hey, you know what? Let's help each other. You coach me, I'll coach you. And we just kept practicing on each other. And we started getting good at it. We started getting results from it. And then it just took over, like a snowball effect.
Yeah.
When you start to see, beautiful. I'm always a fan of, you find out what your target market, you pick a target market, you find out what their pain is, what they're willing to pay for, and give them that if you can.
Yeah, it is that simple as far as figuring out the value and what somebody is going to pay for.
Exactly.
And another thing I love talking about ego, and I love talking. The other thing is perception. It's when we when I talk like you and I had chatted about presenting at ISSA, and I presented there too. But I talk about recruiting, right? Here, the first 20 minutes of my presentation is about ego and perception, because if you can figure some things out with those things, and at least have the willingness to look at yourself and understand it. I mean, I can't tell you how many people, nobody wants to work hard today. Nobody, right. I mean, I can tell you of somebody dear to me that was battling cancer, almost became depressed over it. Really difficult to have a conversation with. Just really, 15 years later, you call his wife, and by the way, he was supposed to have been dead 3 or 4 times by now. You call his wife, and he's never around. Where's he at? He's over at the neighbors. The guy, he's helping the guy with his lawnmower. He is out serving people. And I'm looking at my text going, love you, miss you. This guy never say that to nobody, right? I'm going, who is this? And I'm going, it's a whole new person. Not one damn thing changed around him. Not one thing changed around him. Nothing.
Wow.
How do you go from that depressed state to just being this person that loves life and goes, and it doesn't have to take something that, health crisis to have people, and you see it all the time. Well, how do these people do this thing? So I get into perception big time. And my thing and my thought is, and you touched on it a little bit, and it really, that's what prompted it, is, my experiences, you're supposed to do these things. You're supposed to go to college. You're supposed to do these things, right? Those are all our experiences. And your perception is only your truth. You and I standing across from one another can put a number on the ground, and that number to me is a 6. Right. You're telling me you're nuts. I'm looking at a 9. You're on the opposite side of that number. we're both telling the truth, but we're not saying the same thing, right?
Exactly.
That's an
Exactly.
easy way to explain perception. Now I need to come over to your side, put my arm around you and say, buddy, what are you seeing? What are you looking at?
Exactly.
What's your experience?
Exactly.
Then you can make people do things and follow your vision and just understand them so much better, man. And that's what I think coaching really, really can do. And it's really that thing where you get somebody's perception. You get somebody looking at something differently than you do. I don't always know the truth, and I think I do sometimes, and I'm going, wait a minute. And lo and behold, I'll talk to somebody like you for 15 minutes and go, man, I've been wrong about that for 25 years, man.
Right.
Right. Tell me a little bit about some perceptions that you've seen maybe changed, or, and just look at, it's got to be just beautiful having a front row seat to seeing somebody come to you basically not sure how they're going to survive, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
To blossoming into this human being that not only has a money maybe and this and that, but also has peace. It's got to be beautiful to watch that.
It is one of the most gratifying gifts you can ever receive. When you, as I always say, when you put money into a good person's hands, they're going to do good things in this world. Right. And that's the way I've always approached working with clients, working with coaching clients in particular, is that I'm helping. And I've been very lucky. I've been very fortunate. I've had the ability to cherry pick my coaching clients for the last 15 years. Not everybody has that luxury, right? I created that for myself. When my wife and I were creating our business, we looked at it and said, it is our choice. We can choose to create whatever we want and operate it however we want. For example, right now, we just relocated down to South Carolina. I'm from Long Island, New York. I spent 55 years there. And we just said, you know what? Back in July of this year, we said, you know what? We're leaving. Let's sell the house and go. Okay. We picked up, and a couple of short months later, here we are. We're 6 weeks deep in South Carolina now. Beautiful. And that's creating life on your terms. When we coached and worked with a lot of people, when we started to see patterns. We started to see the same thing showing up over and over again. The Mind Stretch, which is the book behind me over here, over my shoulder, starts to get into that, where it starts to talk about mindset, right? With small business owners, entrepreneurs, a lot of this game is about your mindset. And part of our methodologies, both our methodology, we work with the Mind Stretch methodology that you can find on the deanmercado.com site, and the Clone the Owner methodology, which you can find on the Online Marketing Muscle site. Both of them, you'll notice some similarities between the two methodologies. Both of them include vision and mindset, right? And mindset sits on the outer band of both of those methodologies, because the mindset acts as like a rubber band, constraining or allowing for growth, for you to expand, right? And your mindset will prevent you from growing the business. So unless you grow yourself, your business won't grow. And many of us bump our heads into the wall over and over and over again and wondering why I keep doing these Facebook ads, I keep doing this, and it's not working. Well, what do you think? Maybe you need to look outside of that for a moment and say, what's going on here? What else is happening? Right? And typically it stems from mindset, or your vision, not knowing what you truly want. I can't tell you how hard that question is to answer for so many of you entrepreneurs out there. When I point blank look you in the eye and say, what do you want exactly? How many of you can't tell me what that is? And understand, I've been there. I know what that is. I've been there too. And it takes conscious thinking, structured thinking, to really figure that out, what your true vision is, what you truly want to create and why. Because if your why isn't strong enough, It isn't happening. It's just not happening. And I hate to be the one to tell you that, but I've worked with so many entrepreneurs that I could confidently say that at this point. Once you figure out what you want, it's so much easier to get it. Right? And you'll start to notice that the universe has a way of rallying around you. All of a sudden, people start showing up in your path. Opportunities start showing up because you made it clear what you want. Right? And then you get this right to start understanding and believing, truly believing that you do deserve it. You're worthy of it. When those two things come together, holy crap, what is possible for you? And that's the New York in me. So you have to excuse me out every once in a while.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's the reality of it. That's why both our methodologies, one for each company, they both address those two things, because no matter what, if you come to Online Marketing Muscle and you want help with your digital marketing, yeah, sure, we can help you. But if you really want it to work, and this is where most of our clients, they work with both of my companies. They're getting coached over here, and then they're having the muscle of Online Marketing Muscle handle the stuff for them because they know exactly what they want now. So now it's a matter of, okay, this is what we're trying to create. No problem. Online Marketing Muscle can then do a better job because it knows exactly what you're trying to create and why. So
beautiful.
It's hard. I understand, folks. It's hard to step back and address tough questions like, what do I truly want? And why do I really want that? But once you do, it's like light bulbs going on all around you. All of a sudden you can see. And when you could see clearly, if you're an entrepreneur, chances are you're not dumb. If I turn the light on in a room that was pitch black and you're an entrepreneur, all of a sudden it's like happy days, man. You can you could run rampant in that room now.
Yep.
You can own that room. So, and understand too, it is a choice. It is a choice. You can keep running 1,000,000 miles an hour and burn yourself to the ground. Because that's what we end up doing as entrepreneurs. Or we're flighty and we jump from one opportunity to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, and never do well with any of them. And we wonder why. We may even find ourselves blaming somebody else or something else, as opposed to looking within and saying, what's going on here?
Yeah. What
am I really trying to create? And I don't care what business you create. If you don't know what you want, good luck getting it. Right? I think it was Yogi Berra, the great Yogi Berra, had a saying that was crazy like that, right? Something along the lines of, be careful of what you want or what you, I don't know how it goes. But
my favorite one is when you come to the fork, when you're on the road, you come to the fork of the road, take it.
Take it. Exactly. And that's the kind of mentality. And that's why I pointed him out, because it's that mentality that we're approaching this with so often. And the question is why? You know better than that.
Right.
What are you doing to yourself? And then you're wondering why you're not hitting your numbers. You wonder why no one else in your company is either. Well, they're following you.
Right.
So a lot of times it's about getting you out of your own way long enough so that you could really paint the picture as the leader of the company, where we're going, why we're going there. Then we get the team aligned with that, right? And then we get your actions aligned with that. We get your marketing aligned with that and your sales aligned with that. Now, don't you think if we do that kind of alignment that maybe some good things might happen? Yeah. Right. And it kills me sometimes, Shawn, honestly, when I look into situations like that. And you'll see great people. I mean, we've both played around in the cleaning industry for a lot of years. Some wonderful people.
Yeah.
And it burns me to sit back and watch some of them really struggle and suffer. Yeah, their business might be, I'm making $1 million. Well, how much of that are you keeping? Well, 30,000.
Yeah.
You're making $1 million a year and you're only taking home $30,000. Come work for me. You'll make a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. I mean? You're not exaggerating. There are businesses like that. Yeah.
Tons of them. And it's like, what are you doing? You're obviously not thinking it through clearly. Why are you taking on all of that pain, all that struggle, all that risk to bring home pennies, barely be able to put food on your own table?
Yeah.
At some point you have to gut check And again, these are areas where when I say everybody needs a coach, yeah, everybody needs a coach. And your coach needs to be able to recognize these things and needs to be able to call you out. Not because they're trying to hurt you or embarrass you, but because they're expressing love. They care. They want to help you get what you're saying you want. It's a tough game. It really is, but I'll always say to all of you too, if you receive coaching and it works for you, coach someone else. Help others. There is such a need for coaching right now. I'm one guy. Yes, I'm coaching like crazy right now because I love doing it. Does it make me mega rich? No, it doesn't. It makes me a nice living. Yeah. But it's not my main thing. So, and I'm telling you, consider coaching, not only for yourself, but coaching others. There's always somebody who's wants to get where you are. Could you help them? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like parenting.
It is. It is. And it's one thing that keeps you going too, when you can help somebody else and you start to talk, and then they start to open your mind up again to some things that you might need to think about, and then to see them be successful, that keeps you going too. I mean, that keeps you going
Warms
too.
your heart.
Yeah, it really does. It's an amazing thing. And there's so much that you said there that so much wisdom with, almost manifesting your life in a way, because good things do start to happen when you do good things, when you do things that,
right.
You're not paralyzed staring at the wall, wondering how you're going to make payroll tomorrow. You're afraid to go find out things and talk to people and be honest about, everybody loves to talk about revenue, right? When we talk as business owners, it's all revenue, how many clients I have. Not a lot of people tell you what the bottom line is, how much what and how many trucks I have on the road, or how many this is and that's, but it's so much better to open up and talk about it, especially if you're with a group at an ISA convention, or if you're not going to conventions, get out there and get to conventions. But it's sometimes you all you have to do is keep moving. So many, I have talked to a lot of small business. I don't do conventions. I don't do that. And then all of a sudden, you know what? I did go to that convention, Shawn, and I'll be there, man. Just go and I'll meet you there. We'll have dinner and this and that. And then I have a 3-hour conversation with that person, and he's telling me all these phenomenal things that he's learned and so on and so forth. But it wasn't because the convention had this book that you took home, and it wasn't because it got you excited to do some things necessarily. It's because you actually talk to other human beings that you can talk to, identify with, learn from, and that really helps you realize that you're not in this thing alone. You're not we're all unique, but you're not unique in feeling stuck. That's not a unique thing. You're not unique in that business is kind of tough sometimes.
Right.
You are unique though in your talents and some things like that, of course, like Dean mentioned. But I'll tell you what, there's a certain part of your book, and I want to remember something about evolving and reinventing yourself. Maybe when you talk about that, Dean, are you talking about reinventing yourself, your business, or both, or what? Talk a little bit about that, because that's really, really potent and interesting.
Sure. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. We use a phrase called evolve to actualization in the book. And essentially what that is evolving to become who you're meant to become on your terms. Many of us, we fall prey to that programming. We fall prey to the peer pressure that we're supposed to be this, or we're supposed to do that, or we're supposed to run $1 million company. How many times I tell small business owners, you have any idea what it takes to be $1 million company? You have any idea what it takes to be a 7-figure company, an 8-figure company? Most of the time we're just regurgitating what we expect others we expect that others expect of us. So we say what we think is going to make them happy. At the end of the day, and here I'm giving all of you permission today, create the business of your dreams. Create the business on your terms. You don't have to have 5,000 employees. You don't have to make $20 million a year. You need to make the kind of money and create the kind of business that supports the lifestyle you want to create for yourself, for your family. That's what you want to start looking into. Stop paying attention to what everybody else is telling you need to be doing. And, I had several clients who were at that ISSA event, and I very generously and gently said, be careful who you're listening to here, because misery loves company.
Yeah.
There were some rock stars there. No doubt in my mind. I know many of them. I've coached some of them. So I know what they're capable of. Yeah, listen to those folks. But be careful who you're listening to. And that goes for be careful what books you're reading. Be careful what mentors you're seeking out. And this is why you should resonate. And you were getting to that earlier, Shawn. Should you resonate? Yeah. Resonating is not a bad thing, right? Just know who you're listening to and understand that you don't have to agree with everything they say, right? I didn't when I got coaching early. There were several things that I didn't do that I was being told to do. They didn't fit me. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it if it doesn't fit. Doesn't feel good. If it doesn't feel good and that means I need to go through a little bit more pain, then fine, so be it. I'll go through a little bit more pain to maintain my values, my integrity, right? I'm the one who's got to wake up and look at myself in the mirror in the morning. At the end of the day,
wherever I go, I'm always there.
Right.
Wherever I go, right. I'm always there.
That's right. And I have to live with that.
Yeah.
So whatever you choose to do and whoever you choose to do it with, you have to make sure that you're staying true to yourself. So when we talk about evolving to actualization, it was exactly that. It was about really, you need to understand what you're meant to be and start living into that power. Step into your power. I always say we're all given certain superpowers. We all have certain things that come easy to us.
Yep.
They're natural for us. Learn how to go with them and not fight them. Learn how to leverage them.
Love that.
Because that's the key word right there, leverage.
Yeah.
When you learn how to leverage your strengths, your abilities, things get easier.
Yeah.
And then surround yourself with others to fill where your weaknesses would be.
And also what you like to do. And this just came to me. I was the number one salesman when I was a young guy. But I hated pounding the phone after a year of doing just pounding the phone and just presenting. And so that was another reason that I knew that wasn't going to be my life forever. But I was really, really good at it. And I was really, really good at it. And so it's got to be something that that you enjoy too. And I don't know, I tell you what, I love the phrase you said, if I have to go through more pain to be me and be who I am with my values. I love that. I think I'm very blessed in life where I can say honestly, it's strange, but I almost look forward to some bad shit happening to me sometimes. I mean, believe me, I love the rainbows, unicorns, and candy. Yeah, that's great. But man, I love sometimes going through that challenge of, you know what? Another thing I found out I'm wrong about. I got to fix that one and throw that one away. Another thing I have, you know what? I did it again. I did this again. Here I am going, I did this thing again. Here I go again. I got it. Boom. Thank God that happened because I forgot about that one.
Right.
Thank God it happened. Now I know again because I forgot. I thought I was going, nothing's going to get my way. I'm going to do it again. And boom, it hits me. So I love that. You going and inviting it, I think you said, or, I have to go through, if I have to go through, that's what you said, more pain to be me and to keep my values solid within me. Bring it on. And I love that, man. That is,
Yeah.
I'm stealing it. I'm stealing it.
Sure. Please do. Share it. I'll tell you, it takes courage.
Yeah.
Being an entrepreneur and succeeding as an entrepreneur takes a lot of courage. You have to really, when we talk about having thick skin, it's not the, just saying, oh, I got thick skin. No, it's really, truly having thick skin. You really have to be able to deal with whatever comes your way, not worry about what anybody else is thinking and saying about you. Everybody likes to judge, right? Get over it. Get over it now.
Yep.
Because it's not serving you. When you understand what it is you want and you understand what you stand for and what you stand against, going after what you want becomes so much easier. And I'll often use very simple examples. Traveling's one example. Like if I'm here in South Carolina and I want to get to, what city are you in right now, Shawn?
Cleveland.
If I want to go to Cleveland right now, right, it makes it a heck of a lot easier if I know I want to go to Cleveland. Then my next choice is going to be, okay, well, there's several modes of transportation I can choose from, right? Yeah, I could get in my car and start driving there. It might take me a day and a half, though, to go from South Carolina to Ohio, or a day at least, right?
Okay.
I have to choose at that point. But if I didn't know in the first place that I wanted to go to Cleveland and I just start driving aimlessly, what do you think is going to happen? Where might I end up?
Yep.
Right? I might end up anywhere, but nowhere. Not where I wanted, and I'll never be happy. I'll be chasing all the time, looking for something because I don't know what I want. Right. This is what happens in business. Because we don't have that strong vision nailed, we start aimlessly going after whatever's out there, and then somebody whispers in our ear and says, "Oh, you should do this. You should go after that. You should make $1 million business. You should hire. You need at least 30 employees in your company." Really? Do you? Why? Because that's what they want for you? This is where you have to gut check and say, what am I doing here? Yeah. I've gotten to the point in my life here, folks. I'm 55 now. I don't give a shit what anybody thinks. Excuse my New York there. I really don't. My maker, I care what they think. My family, my kids, my wife, I care what they think. Right? But everybody else out there, if they want to judge me for me being me and living to my values, living true to my values, hey, maybe we just ought to not talk. Maybe we just ought to not see one another. And I'm kind of okay with that. And it takes a lot to get to that point. That was not an easy place for me to get to.
I'm sure.
It might be easy for others. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
That's just me being transparent. It wasn't for me. I grew up, big family, 3 older brothers, 1 younger brother, but he came many years later, having to get to the dinner table and fight for everything you get to eat at that dinner table that night. I was the 4th in line with my brothers, so you had to fight for every scrap.
That's right.
They were bigger than me. So,
I can relate to that. I've got a brother that had a full ride to Youngstown State University football, another second in the nation in wrestling,
right?
So, and I'm the youngest, so I had a tough trail there. I had, and to your point, I had to become somebody that everybody said another day's coming up. You'll be a 4-time state champ and all these things. Yes. And I started to live for that and for other people and for what they expected of me and all these other things. And so I had to evolve, and I had to say, wait a minute here. Why is my goal supposed to be what your expectations of me is? I'll tell you, Dean, you kind of, talked a little bit about where I sort of a motto I have for myself right now. And I don't know where I'll be in 3 years from now or tomorrow, but right now I typically will tell people, listen, I'm here to serve God's kids and love and be kind. And I don't give a shit about anything else because the rest is up to him. I mean, that's true. If I live by that mantra, back to, what you were saying earlier, all of a sudden these wonderful things are coming my way, and people
Right.
and knowledge and all these things just started to show up in my life, because the more I think about Shawn Day, the more trouble I get into. So I need to make sure that I know, like you say though, but I have clarity today because I'm a little bit older and I've gone through a lot of difficult things, as you've said.
Right.
You have to have that clarity, man, and you really pound that home through the hour or so we've been on here, and I appreciate that, because that's something that people, it doesn't come naturally, and we get so bogged down in all the things that we do day to day, and we can lose that clarity because we're drowning in things. We're
That's
drowning in this. And
That's
we're
right.
drowning. Oh, we better get to that email. We better get on that social media, because God, somebody's going to post a picture of their feet and food somewhere out in Hawaii. And you're sitting there, all those things we have to, and we deal with them, and that's okay and all that. But it hurts your clarity, and you forget the path you're going on. And as Dean said beautifully, you're going to be driving to Florida when you should have been driving to Cleveland, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And well said. Very well said.
I love it. So we're wrapping it up here. We got a couple minutes left. I want to make sure, Dean, if there's anything else that you want to talk about briefly, and if we go over, it's not a big deal. And are you still taking on clients and some things like that? If people can reach out to you with either of your businesses, anything else on your mind you want to talk about? And we'll be posting a bunch of links, everybody, for Dean's stuff and his book and some other things. It's a phenomenal read. I highly suggest it. What's on your mind to wrap it up here?
Yeah, well, the Mind Stretch, that book, that was a 1,000-page book that my co-author and I boiled down to 100 pages. Because we were stepping into the Twitter generation, the ADHD generation, the short attention span generation. So we were like, I don't really want to read a book full of stories. So what we did is we boiled it down to all the main points. So while you can read that book in under an hour, that book is meant to be like a field guide, a coaching guide, something to sit down with each statement and think about and ponder. And that's how I would suggest using that book. In terms of, am I taking on clients? Yes and no. In the online marketing muscle, absolutely. In the coaching vein, for the right person, we make it work. We've been asked to coach so much as of late. We're looking to open something a little bit bigger in 2024, maybe something a little bit more group oriented. So that we can look for that in the first quarter. But I love private coaching.
Yeah,
I just do. It takes a lot out of me, so I can't do too much of that. And that's just being completely transparent.
Yeah.
I've coached several people already today. Our coaching sessions go long because we get shit done.
Yeah.
It's that simple. We get it done, because I have my marketing background. It's like, my sleeves under my jacket are all rolled up. They're not down. They're rolled up because I roll my sleeves up. Let's just get it done right now. Let's just do it. So in terms of what I want to leave you with, check out my stuff. Grab the ebooks that are free on the website. Grab the Clone the Owner stuff. Pay attention to that stuff. Ask questions. Stalk me on social media. Listen to podcasts like this. I'm not the only one with great ideas. Shawn's had several guests that are brilliant. Listen to those folks. Pay attention. Right? Tune into this show each week. There's no shortage of information, but there's a shortage of good information. I'll throw that out there for you. So be careful who you're listening to. Right? This seems to be a good one. Right? So they may want to tune into this and keep your guests, Shawn, honest.
Yes.
Keep them honest.
Yes.
Keep them moving forward in the right directions. But yeah, folks, don't be afraid of this thing called entrepreneurship. Don't let what the expectations of everybody else dictate what your reality is going to become. Be courageous, be bold, step into your power, find your power, figure out what you want, get the help you need to go get it. It's there. Stop struggling. Right? It's like with me leaving New York, right? I kicked and screamed about leaving New York. And then finally I got the realization, what am I fighting for? This place is a lunatic asylum. New York is out of its mind right now. Why the hell are we staying there? And 6 weeks out of New York, we're looking at ourselves, my wife and I, saying, what were we doing?
Yeah.
Why? Why were we doing what we were doing? Why were we spending all that money?
Yeah.
Why were we struggling and suffering when we shouldn't be? At the end of the day, you got to find what life looks like on your terms.
Yep. Yep.
And go with it. Trust yourself. Right? So seek us out. Connect. I'm out there. I'm all over social. You could find me everywhere. I've been on the internet since it became popular for businesses. So there's quite a bit about me online. You could check me out, look me up, and connect with me. Take it from there, right?
All right.
So, Shawn, thank you, man. I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you here today and just off the cuff it.
Yeah.
It was not scripted, folks. This was off the cuff between he and I. So hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Absolutely. It was one of the tops, man. One of the tops that I've done. So I appreciate that too, Dean. It was great having you on. It's great to be able to ask a couple questions and just have somebody just talk so much about real things and how to get things done. And I love it. And, the word mindset's an awful lot overused, like the word paradigm shift used to be a few years back, right? Yeah. But you put so much context and content when you use the term mindset. And I think that's what makes you different than a lot of other people out there that use that term and then don't have any idea on how to back it up and talk about it and what it really means. And examples of what you're talking about, and both examples that are a Cleveland example traveling, but also real examples that you've experienced with the people you coach and the people you surround yourself with. So thank you so much for hopping on. Everybody, I appreciate it. We're going to be posting some things up here for Dean so you can reach out. Definitely hop on his marketing stuff, a bunch of really good free stuff out there that he's got, and get that book. So next week, I believe I've got Dan Plata on 4 o'clock. We're going to talk about some things we're rolling out with a couple different things, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Other than that, I am out. Dean, take good care, everybody. Thanks for hopping on. God bless. And I wish everybody a good night tonight. Take good care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.